This week's Democratic National Convention will, it's fair to say, be like no other in history. Virtual, no crowds, because of the pandemic. A new CBS News Battleground tracker poll shows Democrats overwhelmingly like Joe Biden's choice of a running mate. The survey shows Biden and Kamala Harris leading in electoral votes and in many of the battleground states. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins me for more on the race ahead and this unconventional convention. Ed, our poll also says something about Democratic hunger. What do they want that they haven't gotten yet?
They want to hear more, Major, from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Democrats overall about why they want to retake the White House, what they would do if they did so, rather than the well-worn, well-known attacks on President Trump and Vice President Pence. If Democrats can do that, it might help address one of the other notable data points in this survey that finds that Republicans are very enthusiastic to vote this fall than Democrats and independents. And that jives with another data point we've been seeing in these battleground tracker surveys across the country, that one of the reasons people are voting for Joe Biden is not necessarily because of him, but because he's not President Trump.
And there really isn't a template for this convention, at least compared to previous conventions. But is there one in our current pandemic experience?
I think if someone is familiar with how the NFL draft went earlier this year, or how the Daytime Emmy Awards or some of our most popular daytime and late-night talk shows have been produced in recent months, that gives you a sense of the kind of production Democrats will be putting together 2 nights over 2 hours a night over 4 nights, a mix of taped and live speeches from party luminaries all across the country, hundreds of people helping produce it, and they're led by a producer who has put together Super Bowl halftime shows, the Emmy Awards, and we know they're quite pleased about the fact that because it's virtual, they have far more control over the actual run of the show.
And speaking of that control, it's a bit of a joke, an inside joke among political reporters and those who watch this closely. Speeches won't be scheduled for 5 minutes and then run an ungodly 20 minutes, now will they?
That's right. Outside of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, their spouses, and the former presidents Clinton and Obama, most people addressing this convention really will only get about 1 or 2 minutes. Most of these people are not accustomed to speaking that shortly, so it'll be a real test of how succinct the arguments can be, and frankly, quite humbling for a lot of these people, but perhaps that's one of the encouraging new trends of doing politics. The pandemic, they've got to keep it short.
I read this once. Brevity is the soul of wit. Ed O'Keefe, thank you. CBS News will bring you live coverage of the Democratic National Convention beginning tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central.